Good morning, good morning, good morning to you. I hope you're having a good day. Good morning. Anyway, good morning. Good morning, good morning. It's great to stay up late in the morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning, it's great to stay out late in the morning. Good morning to you. Um, I am lazy today. I was lazy yesterday. I did make a dinner, which was actually quite delicious. Bobo and I made dinner. Little turkey breast, little homemade gravy, little homemade stuffing, little homemade whatever. Hi, Spin. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Lee. Oh, the first snow of the season. Well, that's kind of romantic. I mean, the first snow on the day after Thanksgiving, that's kind of romantic, I guess. Until you have to shovel it or drive through it. And then it's not romantic, it's terrible. Anyway, good morning, Spin. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving too. I hope everyone had a wonderful day. However, you observe yesterday, Thanksgiving is a problematic holiday, but the trappings of Thanksgiving, it would be nice if those were repurposed positively into something that could recognize cultures and be very beautifully inclusive. Also, my twins' 21st birthday. Happy birthday to the Spin twins. Happy birthday. Oh my gosh, that's so great. Wow. That's crazy. 25, 21 is like it. I was going to say 21st, and I was going to say 25. Don't have to go out anywhere today. Not enough to mess up driving or travel. Birds are loving girl, life is good. Life is good. That's right. That's wonderful. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Carrie, happy Thanksgiving to you, darling. I hope you had a good day yesterday. I hope everyone had a good day yesterday. Um, I lazed out. I'm gonna admit it. Oomph put V the miniseries on from the 80s in the Discord, and I was just sitting here all day, like literally in this chair, like smoking weed and watching V, and then taking a break to cook a this or a that. Oh, and you have weed and coffee, Lee. You don't know how happy that makes me to hear that you have the trappings to truly enjoy your day. Okay. Oh, Carrie, I did too. Thank you. It was so great to have you there. Thank you so much. Might start some holiday decorating. I don't know. Because you got nowhere to go and no one needs anything from you right now, Lee. And that to me is one of the most beautiful feelings in the world. When someone doesn't need anything from me and I have no expectations. Oh my God, I have hair in my mouth. I am it is like the best time. I don't know. And of course I want people in my life, but it's that balance, right? It's that balance of having time where you truly have an entire rest of the day or whatever to yourself and you can choose how you're going to spend it. And I love that freedom. I don't know, there's something about that. I think that's a little bit of my dad. My dad really wanted freedom and, the freedom to do what he wanted to do. And, so I kinda picked up a little bit of that from him, but yeah. Yeah, I might do some, we're gonna do some cleaning. We're gonna do some deep cleaning this season. I might take a couple days off actually, to get us all cleaned up, but another reason why we're pals, I feel the same, maybe why I'm a solo person. I know, right, Lee? Me too, actually. I've been alone much more than I've been in relationships. And so I just, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that. So I hear you and I adore you, Lee. I really do. You're just one of my dear friends, really. Um, I'm really thankful. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for everyone. Um, and we've been through a lot together, Lee. So it's just so great to be at this place, right? We've kind of come a long way, you've helped me come a long way. So, really appreciate you. Really appreciate you. I think it's a great idea, but I like the weed and the coffee. That's my speed right now. Weed and coffee. I got a lot to read to you today, though. Oh my God. I picked up so many things yesterday. It's crazy. I thought, oh, Friday, it's going to be slow. No, there's stuff to read. But I'm not going to get into it right away. I'm going to take today a little slower. I should organize too. Maybe your projects will motivate me. Back at you. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I'm trying. I have to do the deep clean. I have to. Kind of imperative. But that's okay. It needs to be done. And let's see what else. What else was there? Something. Ah, doesn't matter. Anyway, uh, I should have like a script, but I don't. Good morning, Carla. I didn't even see you sneak in there. Good morning, darling. Good morning. Yeah, I really enjoyed watching V. I haven't seen it obviously since the 80s. And of course it's dated and it has a lot of tropes and a lot of stereotypes and stuff like that, which when I watch it now, I'm like, God, why did we think that was okay? Why did anyone not stand up and go, these stereotypes are, well, of course people did. I'm sorry, forgive me, that was stupid. People did stand up and say these stereotypes are incredibly offensive, but nobody listened. So that's the answer, actually. Anyway, that is part of it. But watching the show, it's just such an interesting. It's a story. So V was a mini series back in the 1980s, like 83. And I wonder I wonder if JFK watched Junior watched V when he was on Smack and it shaped his worldviews. It probably did. It's a cheesy series, but it actually has some amazing. Like it's a story of aliens come to Earth. They act like they're going to be nice. So they send a bunch of people in, to help, partner with the world. And the people end up taking over or trying to take over because they're lizards. So so the series is the people, the humans fighting for control of the planet from these fucking lizards that are able to look like people, but they're really lizards. Anyway, so convoluted storylines there because sometimes I think, are we the lizards? Wait, weren't we supposed to be the lizard people? But anyway, but it was a story of resistance, which is a theme, and it was very interesting. So I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Oomph. I know you're not here, but thank you, Oomph, for sharing that series because it was fun. It was fun to go in the Wayback Machine. I highly recommend hanging out in our Discord. You don't know when someone's going to start showing something or doing something in the voice channel. So I'm finding myself hanging out in Discord a little more. And of course the chat is nice in Discord, but Lolo's Lounge Discord is kind of a nice place too. So we like it. Butterflies. Good morning. Good morning, butterflies. Butterflies. Dog and the butterfly. Up in the air, we like to fly. Dog and butterfly. Can't go that high. I should have. Oh, I'm totally scared of it, Carrie. Carrie, please don't take anything about what I've just said to represent confidence in my use of Discord. I am constantly opening my mic. I am constantly, I mean, really. So, girl, you do not need to think twice about that. I am with you. We are all afraid of Discord. I've heard such horror stories about Discord. It's like I don't want to play with Discord. But it's worked out with the shows. We've been able to show things that we can't show on like YouTube or we'll get shut down. So it's great to share content with each other just as a community. And the more the merrier. But it's nice. It's nice. And right now it's nice. It's nice and it's a good size and everybody's happy. Discords can become very discordant. So I tend to be afraid of Discord just because of its weaponization sometimes by people within it. You know what I mean? You're constantly hearing about, I came in and took over their server, like, take over my server. Okay, go ahead. I feel more binging of Svalbard. Girl, yes, that's a perfect way to spend a snowy day off. Watch Svalbard videos. Beautiful. I love that. I love Cecilia Blogdahl or whatever her name is. Oh my God. Bloomdahl. Anyway, brilliant. More binging. Oh, God, I love that show. I just watched one the other night where she's like, this is the first full day of Nordic darkness or whatever they call it. Day, night, or whatever. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. When I started using Twitter in 2009, I was scared of it, then loved it, and now it's terrifying. Carrie, now it's back to terrifying. Now I feel like it's, I think I felt the same way, and now I feel like, these guys are idiots. Like, I don't even care what I say to them on Twitter anymore. You know what I mean? I used to think about it. Oh my God, girl, I would be right behind you. I want to go to Norway now. I want to go get a cabin on the water and just spend 2 weeks staring at the ocean. That's what I want. And smoking as much weed as I possibly can. I think that would be so great. We're all channeling Svalbard. Oh my God. I can't. All right, let me see what I got. I got some stuff. We're going to make our way through it. Let's see. Is this? Let's see. I'm just looking to see what's new. All right, let me see. Here we go. To me. Nope. Yep. Nope. Oh, here we go. Here's a 2-minute one. Hold on. Oh, I know what I wanted to watch. I'm gonna watch this. Can we watch this Jimmy Giant thing? Jimmy the Giant, the one How I Escaped the Alt-Right Pipeline. I found that fascinating. Hold on.
Pretty insane. At one
Shush,
point, this
shush,
video is
shush,
brought to
shush, shush. Hopefully he doesn't give me a strike. I don't think he will, but you never know. You never know with these guys. You never know with these dudes. I don't think he will. I think he likes me. Yay! I know, this is really good. This is a really good thing. Okay, hold on. Let me get my shit together, which is impossible. Like, boop. Okay. This is this guy's video. Forgive me. Carrie, did you send it to me? I don't think it'll get me shut down. No, it won't. It won't. And if I do, I can trim out the video part that is offensive. And the thing is I don't get ad revenue on my shows because I smoke weed and I swear. So nothing I do really takes money away from other creators because I don't get any money from that, which is fine. I wanted it that way. I don't want to take work and make money off of it, other people's work. So that's, I do have some integrity around that, but this is a half an hour, but it's really, really, really good. And we'll stop kind of and at parts because there's a couple of parts that I think are really important. But I think this is this really was a little eye-opening for me actually about the way, because I've always struggled with how left-leaning like Crunchy Granola and others, environmentalists might, although less so, more the kind of weird anti-vax kind of that stuff. I always wondered how they really made a turn to MAGA as their answer. You know what I mean? Like there's people that made that transition, and I don't really understand how that transition works because I don't see where I don't relate to some of the things, but the way that he talks about it is really thoughtful. I will say my caveat is I believe he misses the point about the disinformation that actually provided the information that radicalized him. You know what I mean? So he doesn't seem to look too deeply at the people generating the disinformation, which I totally understand, by the way, because he's talking about how he was radicalized by what messages. So in essence, in one way, this is not the video where he would tell us, oh, this is disinformation and blah blah blah. He does refer to it, but he doesn't really talk about the role that disinformation has played in fostering the belief systems. Okay? This is my point, and I don't say it well, but I'm really, really, really passionate about this. It is the disinformation that then feeds the worldviews that then translates into feverish, kind of voting and advocating and MAGA. You know what I mean? So I cannot stress enough that I think we're missing a real big discussion here about the actual disinformation that then poisons the minds of people and then radicalizes them. Do you see what I mean? So I don't hear enough right now, and I might be missing it, but I don't think I am, that we're not dealing with the disinformation that is actually causing and triggering worldviews that exist in people. I'm not saying they don't, but it exacerbates what might already be happening for someone and makes it worse. Or it completely changes their worldview, which is, again, a place I don't really understand because I don't see how that would happen, but it does happen. So anyway, sorry for all that preface, but I think this to me, as a media literacy person, this to me is like bread and butter, like understanding this. It's really just my curiosity, nothing else. Here we go. Yes, thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. We'll just sit over here with hey, we have 6 viewers. Can you guys please share the thing? I know it's the day after Thanksgiving, so maybe people watching you may know brought more of that home for me. It does. And how long it's been happening, and I had no idea. I really didn't. I really was very not in social media that much, and so I didn't really pay attention to that. There's another thing. That's something to think about.
Base. Yes, my brothers, my brodies, my woadies. I'm going to do another one of these little talk to cams. You might have noticed, through some of my videos, I officially joined the woke brigade. It's unfortunate. I didn't really want to, but I'm going to talk how we got here. My political arc has been pretty insane. At one point, I was in a Nico Malama video supporting Trump. That's me. I'll admit it. Blurry boy.
Trauma Reporters UK. I'm here. Look at my hat. I love Donald Trump.
So today we're going to talk about how I managed to escape the alt-right pipeline.
Up yours, woke moralists.
How big is Luton? It's 200,000 population.
And how many mosques?
45.
There will never be peace on this earth so long as we have this book. It's a violent and cursed book.
Attacks on mosques. Other minority communities singled out. Wanton violence alongside racist rhetoric.
When I was a young gangster, a YG, I was a little bruh, right? A little bruh. I'm about 13 years old. And we're invited into school. It was mandatory, we weren't invited. And we had to do a speech. So, my mate goes up and he does the history of Chelsea.
Yeah, we're going to have to put the whatchamacall. I did mention it in the live chat. My son showed it to me. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you so much. I apologize. My brain does not hold on to certain information. And I I truly apologize. Because the energy that you all spend in bringing things to me and stuff like that, I appreciate that so much. You don't know. I mean, I hope you do. I hope I express my gratitude. But you guys are the reason that these sessions, I guess, are so interesting. So I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
Chelsea Football Club. A girl goes up and she does about horse riding. I go up with my little thumb drive, plug it in, 9/11. So I basically proceed to radicalise a classroom of young, impressionable 13-year-olds as to why the American government did 9/11.
Who do you believe was behind 9/11?
Criminal elements of the military-industrial complex, the same ones that staged Gulf of Tonkin, the same ones that staged the mass shootings of Operation Gladio.
Right.
Ooh.
I was in this kind of like early conspiracy theory bubble, but what I want to say is it was interesting, right? Because at that time, being a conspiracy theorist wasn't left and right, it was just anti-establishment. And so whilst I was listening to Alex Jones, I'd also be listening to the Young Turks and
Oh. Oh, am I muted? I'm sorry. Thank you. So that to me was a bingo. When he talks about that it wasn't left or right. It wasn't left or right. It was anti-establishment. So this is interesting, okay? That to me is a first really interesting kernel. Wasn't left or right issues that got him. It was anti-establishment. So, thank you.
listening about Occupy Wall Street. So when I was young, I was just a sort of contrarian hipster. I'm not like a communist, but I'm definitely not a capitalist, and I'm definitely left-wing, and I definitely voted to remain in the EU referendum. And so time goes by, I grow up, and I remember I got, I had a few jobs working like fucking Sainsbury's or B&Q, and that was further fueling my sort of anti-capitalist feelings. But I remember I got one job, and I met this geezer, and he was a proper right-winger.
Capitalism is good because capitalism is freedom. Socialism is bad because socialism is tyranny.
It was like a right-winger in the flesh. I'd never seen one before. I was like, what the fuck hell is this? Capitalism good? Welfare state bad? NHS bad? But you see, although I deeply disagreed with all of his views at the beginning, you gotta remember 13-year-old contrarian Jimmy. He's still in there somewhere. And what he's hearing is contrarian views, you say. Anti-establishment, non-mainstream. Little old hipster Jimmy lapped up this sort of right-wing rhetoric because I realised it was different to everyone else, and that would make me interesting if I believed all these things.
And that's another interesting part. He thinks that this makes him interesting. That kind of going after the bros. Think about the manosphere, which I really want to talk about. The manosphere. He talks about that. I think this is really an interesting part. It would make him interesting if he believed all these things because it was different and it was contrarian. So it's so interesting. I'm fascinated by this stuff. I apologize if it's boring. I hope it's not. Muskie, good morning. Butterflies. Hello, darling. How are you? So good to see you. Good to see all of you.
Right? And like when I say right wing, it's not, we don't like foreigners. It's stuff like this.
The people who get on welfare lose their human independence and feeling of dignity. They become...
Okay, so this is another one. It's not that people of color live in a welfare state, and it is, it's not identifying a race as part of your complaint against it's part of your complaint against poverty. It's not racist. It just has to do with laziness and the fact that you don't want to become dependent on the state. So that to me, I think, is another key message. Don't become dependent on the state.
subject to the dictates and whims of their welfare supervisor, who can tell them whether they can live here or there, whether they may put in a telephone, what they may do with their lives. They're treated like children.
So now I'm at the doors of the alt-right pipeline, right? I pick up my hat with the light, turn the torch on, grab my pickaxe, and I head in. And the first stop is Jordan Peterson.
And then if I'd said to you, please, I'd rather go by she, How would you respond to that on a personal level? How would you...
The way I have responded to that, because I've had a number of conversations with transgendered individuals, is that I use whatever pronoun seems to go along with the persona that they're projecting publicly.
How can I describe the fact that someone who was once a woman, and really still is, had her breasts cut off because she, he, they, their, them had fallen prey to a viciously harmful fad?
So bear in mind, I didn't go to university. I went and just tried to make little businesses. I did a parkour brand, I ran a vegan food store, I did lots of little things. And very importantly, I was not academic. Jordan Peterson, to young Jimmy, sounded like how I imagine smart people sound.
So even if you do happen to be that avatar of moral purity that you claim implicitly, the probability that you'd get to act out your goodness in relation...
Here's another thing. They use the veil of intelligence, right? Because the words don't necessarily have meaning. So think about the way Trump speaks. He's very bold and brash and he swears. Well, for the people that are his base, I think they look at that and go, he's finally giving it to them, right? He's finally telling the establishment, fuck you. I don't have to act like you think I have to act. And they want that in their own life. Everyone wants that in their own lives, right? They want to act, be unencumbered, right? By what is around them. They want to just kind of move through life. And so while they hate elites, they also covet the behaviors of the strong men, whether it be like a Jordan Peterson who is like fluffing you up with fancy words, right? And still saying the same hateful things so that you understand them. And then you've got the Trumps that also satisfy that kind of I don't give a shit, don't give a fuck attitude. So, Iguana, good morning, my love. I love you so much. Mimi, I'm really missing you right now, Iguana. I just want to tell you that. Okay, we're watching a video, a really good video. It's the video I dropped in Signal last night.
Relationship to those possessed by your ideology is zero.
He would use big words. He would do this with his hands. He would think and contemplate. Like he was the sort of caricature of a smart person. And it was very interesting because all of his views tended to be quite contrarian to sort of mainstream views. And he would, again, like my friend, he would talk about the benefits of capitalism. He would talk about natural hierarchies and that it wasn't capitalism's fault for hierarchies, but hierarchies are natural. And so it's very interesting because if you think about what Jordan Peterson is and what he thinks and his words now, back in 2016, it was very different, right?
As a matter of respect, in fact, would you refer to a trans person who asked you to use they, them pronouns, a pronoun which has a several hundred-year historical...
But that's not what we're talking about.
He rises to fame on what he is portraying as a free speech battle. The Canadian government are trying to make it so that if you say the wrong pronouns to a transgender person, you will go to jail. And Jordan Peterson never says something like, I don't believe in trans people, and so I don't believe I should say their pronouns. He's not saying that people who do transgender surgeries are butchers. He is saying that by law, I shouldn't be forced to say anything.
Difference between saying that there's something...
And that's another loophole. Okay, the loophole, this is just like the Trump thing. The loophole is that I want to say whatever I want. I noticed that with all the Chud channels and the incel channels that we've been introduced to. Butterflies, you'll know what I mean. Musky, you'll know what I mean. All these channels we've been introduced to where there's like different levels of Chud, right? They are really focused. Like those bitches say it all the time. I don't hate gay people. But don't come near my kids or I'll kill you. You know, that bullshit. Okay, so the whole thing is like the whole issue is that they divert from the kind of same things that he's saying, right? You know, like, I don't like trans people. They divert from that to say, I should be able to say whatever I want. Just like certain people we know on the internet say, I should be able to say the N-word. Right? No, you shouldn't. Because the point you're missing is that It is not the impact on you that we're concerned about. So stop being so centered in your own fucking whiteness and think about how your words have effect on other people. That's what we're trying to tell you, idiot, is that when you say words, they have impact on other people, but somehow you think it's only about what you think that word means. Are you kidding me? Are you stupid? Well, you are stupid, but anyway, so free speech. Free speech. Yes, we need a Zoom soon, please. We need a Zoom. Maybe we could do like Sunday night or something. Maybe we could do this weekend or something. I don't know. Whenever. I'll wait. Badger! Did I say hello to you, Badger? I hope I did. I love you, Badger. His dragon interview was fantastic. Which one? Who interviewed? Neil! Welcome, darling. How are you? All right, we're watching some really interesting video. This video was dropped in the Discord, by the way. For those of you on the Lolo's Lounge Discord, this video was dropped in the Discord, so it's there too. But I'll put it in today's description.
Say, and saying that there are things that you have to say. And I regard these made-up pronouns, all of them, as the neologisms of radical PC authoritarians.
As I grew up, I kind of realized he misrepresented this bill and he was blowing things out of proportion. But if we just take it on face value and believe what he was saying, then yeah, it seemed illogical to oppose what he was saying. And so whilst I'm going through Jordan Peterson's books, his podcasts, his speeches, etc., I'm getting this feeling that there's this sort of crazy, indoctrinated Marxist left who are trying to suppress your freedom and usher in communism. And so all this is happening all the way in Canada where no one gives a fuck about. But what about here in Britain, right? In Britain, we have a sort of similar squarespace.com or a domain. Use the code Jimmy the Giant.
There you go.
Anyway, back to the video.
Yeah, so
this the Quran around in your hand
book is
in
the
that
reason,
disgraceful manner.
This book is
outrageous.
This book is the reason we're in such a mess.
Stay back!
Boys, I'm not proud of this, but I'm just being an honest person. I'm trying to explain where I was at, how I got to where I was, and how I am where I am now. And so I come across Tommy Robinson in this period of time where he goes to jail for, as he's presenting it to the audience online, trying to report on Muslim grooming gangs. He goes to jail. And I see this as a suppression of journalism, a suppression of free speech by a tyrannical government.
With justice, do regret,
you know, and I ignored the fact that it was contempt of court, and he knew exactly it was contempt of court, and he did it deliberately to provoke this reaction. But the way it was being presented was very clever. Again, it was all about free speech. It wasn't about the underlying issue.
Okay, so here's a point that I want to point out that I think he misses the point. So what he's missing a little bit, not everything, is that why did Tommy do it then? Why did Tommy do it? Why was it set up that way to be this kind of clown show that lasted for days, right? Like it remember, it just bubbled up again. So that's the question. And what I love though is I need this video, right, to explain from the perspective of someone who lived it. And then we further have a conversation about, okay, so let's dial it back. Let's come back and talk about the disinformation. Sorry, that's my pet peeve. And other factors that influenced you. I know. I thought that was hilarious, Neil. I'm so sorry. Oh, something happens in Canada we don't give a fuck about. I know. Screw that Ponzi line. Uh-oh. I know. That was a real dig. You gave a real dig to my Canadian friends. Stop it. Leave my Canadian friends out of it. They got their own troubles. They got their own Tommy Robinsons. Typical Brit. You sound like my dad. He's so Irish.
Of Islam, etc., but it was just about free speech. And so when you're already primed to be sort of libertarian, pro-free speech, and you're perceiving these attacks on free speech, you start to wonder, Why are they attacking these people for their speech? And it unfortunately has this effect of making you think that the person is a truth teller and the government are trying to suppress them. And it reinforces your belief in what they're saying must be
distrust in institutions, which has been earned in some ways, right? So we do need to ensure that our institutions are serving their mission, right? And doing so with expediency and you know, that's great. But what they're trying, what again is missing from this conversation is who sets these in motion? Who sets these types of belief constructs, I guess, in motion?
Must have some truth to it if they want to hide it so bad. And these people, these what I would now consider grifters, they know that. They know that that's the response and the feeling it's going to create in people. They want to be martyrs because then people will follow them even more ardently.
It's so important for the establishment because they know it reaches the people. They know
Free Tommy Robinson and free him now.
And so, yeah, I go to like a rally, like a free speech rally when Tommy Robinson's about to go to jail, and I come across Nico, and I see Nico, and I've seen him online, and I saw how he was trying to present everyone that went to a Tommy Robinson rally as a racist. And I knew from my perspective and knowing who I was, I knew I wasn't a racist. And so I go up to Nico and I tell the people around him that he's trolling you and he's trying to like make you look stupid online. And then Nico does misrepresent me in the video, and he says that I went up to the police and told them to get rid of Nico.
The police then came over and surprise, he started crying to them as well.
That's a good point, Muskie. They're more than just grifters. So that's another kind of, again, it's not a criticism at all of this video because I'm so grateful for this video, frankly. I can't tell you how grateful I am actually for this video because it really speaks to a topic that I'm very curious about. And so that's another, that's another piece of it. It's so interesting. I find this shit so interesting. I'm sorry.
When in reality, I was actually saying to the police that Nico has his free speech. Because, you know, I'm fucking obsessed with free speech in this period of time. I don't know why. I think it's the single most important thing on earth. But either way, like, as much as I disagree with myself for being at that rally and supporting Tommy Robinson in that time, I still stand by the fact that I don't think these people understood why people were presenting them as racist, right? And I just want to touch on that.
Tell me a Trump policy right now.
I support...
Fake, waffle. You're waffling, man. Yeah, answer the question.
I support his trade policy.
How dare you fake this? How dare you?
You know, now, from, you know, the view I have now, I understand there are sort of two types of racism. There's like overt racism, which is like, you know, I fucking hate migrants when you send them back, they're the worst. And then you have this kind of more like subconscious racism or like in effect racism. And what I mean by that is like, I knew I wasn't racist because I grew up very multiculturally and I liked people of different races. I had lots of friendships with them and I got along with them very well. So I never in my heart felt anything bad towards people of different races. But what can happen from there is when you think you're like immune to racism, you sometimes are more susceptible to it in a way, but just a different type of racism. These grifters know they can't just say that, I don't know, black people are inferior genetically, although some of them have started doing that again. They've found sneakier ways of wrapping it, often by hiding behind culture. These pundits will lie and say stuff like 84% of grooming gangs are Asian Pakistani, which has been endlessly disproven. It is white people who make up the majority of grooming gangs. But all this misinformation can lead you to believe that their culture is inferior to ours, and therefore we can't mix. And with the Tommy Robinson thing, it's kind of the same when it comes to Islam, right? You didn't hate people for being like having brown skin. You were simply critiquing their ideology, their beliefs.
You wouldn't do that with
Sir William
Would you do that with the
that.
Bible? Show some respect.
Show some respect.
Show some respect.
Have you read this book?
For people.
Have you read this book?
There are over
There's
a billion people.
So, you know, I'm listening to the greatest hits, right? I'm listening to Ben Shapiro debate some 12-year-old feminist. I'm listening to Jordan Peterson, Matt Walsh, I'm Joe Rogan till I fucking die. And I find myself accepting that I must be right-wing now. And, you know, little hipster Jimmy, That's cool, because now I'm different to everyone. I'm the contrarian, right? I have all the different opinions. Oh no, the sky isn't blue. Actually, no, it's a shade of maroon. And like, when you're listening to all this stuff, you get this sort of impression of the left. Like, what you're perceiving the left to be like, basically the worst.
Okay, so there's another piece, right? That he's going to talk very interestingly about how these guys like Ben Shapiro, etc., shaped his view of what a leftist actually is. And think about how hated leftists are by chuds and other people. Just how incredibly, incredibly hated. And so, again, what might be the add-on to what he is talking about is why. Why did they need to paint an other? You know, they painted many others, and one of the others they painted was the leftists. You know, fuck your feelings kind of thing. So this is interesting too.
Of the left.
You know you're a millennial when you question whether or not it's ethical to bring children into this world. Because of climate change. We don't really know whether or not the world's going to be habitable in 30 years.
And so you just get pushed further and further right from more of a reactionary position rather than some actual ideological and maybe academic understanding of economies and politics. It just sort of is a feeling. And it's so funny, like when Ben Shapiro and these sort of people get famous off of facts don't care about your feelings. But to be honest, like conservatives these days, it just seems to be mainly emotion.
And there's another one. It's mainly emotion. Remember, we do that. We play that game all the time. When they're giving the speeches, it's like, oh, that's a feeling. Oh, that's a feeling. Oh, that's a feeling. That's a feeling. Oh, that might be a fact, but that's a feeling, you know? So this is, again, it's part of the design of communication. So maybe it's also imperative for journalists to call out in interviews, well, that sounds like a feeling, you know, like I feel like there's a game that can be played that constantly chips away at this kind of disinformation pipeline. This kind of line line now becomes the truth. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Just, yeah.
It's how they feel about topics. They hate when you bring up academic papers and actual facts, and they don't trust any of that.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
And ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there had been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Either way, I find myself as a right-winger. I have not descended into overtly racist beliefs or overtly transphobic beliefs, misogynistic beliefs. I haven't gone that far, but I probably do house some sort of unconscious discriminatory beliefs in maybe trans people, perhaps even women to a degree. Again, often wrapping their push for equality and better rights as some kind of Marxist revolution. But I believe in the typical sort of right-wing viewpoint that...
Okay, there's another piece. I just love this video. My God, it's just full of really beautiful information. That's another thing is that, oh man, what was he saying? Oh, about the, oh shit. It was about the, wait, let me just see.
Or overtly transphobic beliefs, misogynistic beliefs. I haven't gone that far, but I probably do house some sort of unconscious discriminatory beliefs.
So this is where I also think what the disinformation triggered in people is, again, you know how people are so, I'm not racist. Like, how can you call me racist? And what I believe is that while there may be some level of consciousness about their thinking they're not racist, I think they do know they're racist deep down inside. I think a lot of this anger comes from guilt of not being on the right side of history. So I think there's another root cause, is that there's a lot of guilt involved in the division between left and right, if you will. But I also believe that what it did was trigger this kind of what we all hold inside of us individually as racist or bigoted beliefs or tropes or, whatever, caricatures, however you want to describe it, that it can trigger that, I think, in some folks to a stronger degree than it does in others, right? Or you recognize it and go, oh, that's a wrong. I need to really examine how I feel about that because I recognize that that is wrong. So you look at Trump versus I know, you really do, don't you? But anyway, here we go.
Beliefs in maybe trans people, perhaps even women to a degree. Again, often wrapping their push for equality and better rights as some kind of...
Sorry, that's what I also wanted to say, is that another thing we've heard often from Chudville is that rights are like pie, that somehow if you give rights to other people, you're making them special. Rather than leveling the playing field, their belief is you're giving something to someone else because they whined about or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's this like, why not me? It's like that when they say, when straight pride month. Well, it's every month, you idiot. You fucking idiot. That's the whole point. So I think then going again into root cause, I do think, and Max I know would agree with me were she here, that this has to also do with literacy overall. The fact of the matter is our literacy levels are too low. So I hope someday there's so much money put into schools that they become the new, like teachers become the new celebrities. Like we admire teachers as much as we admire celebrities for the magic that they're able to create. Yeah, Max. That they're able to create an environment where people can actually learn critical thinking and other skills that will actually serve them to be more compassionate and ethical human beings. Thanks, Max. I appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Marxist revolution. But I believe in the typical sort of right-wing viewpoint that the state should be smaller, that people are responsible for themselves, and probably that like poor people are just lazy and they need to fix their own shit, and that billionaires and corporations are really good and like, sort of, unless they're the ones that, I don't know, Russell Brand says is bad, and then all of a sudden they're bad because they're tied to, I don't know, George Soros. George Soros business, bad. Bill Gates business, bad. But Elon Musk buying Twitter, good. Very good. Anyway, I'm deep in the pipeline, right? I'm deep. COVID happens. Obviously, I don't get vaxxed. I don't wear the mask. I'm sorry if I killed anyone. And, again, I regret that position now. I literally didn't want to get vaxxed, not because I thought it had 5G in it or something, but just because I was so sort of libertarian right wing that I didn't like the fact the government were telling me to do it. And like, I don't know, I'm here today, I'm vaccinated, and the woke police haven't come to my door yet, so probably I was overreacting.
Vaccine. We also need rural broadband. We need rural internet. This country should be wired the fucking teeth. So from an infrastructure standpoint, the internet, and I get it, it's a two-edged sword, but the internet available widespread might help, actually. Oh, that's Russell Brand. That's Russell Brand. Weirdo. The basic difference between right wing versus left wing is that the right believe if you win, I lose. And the left knows that when we all do well, we all do well. That's it. Thank you, Carrie. That was beautifully said. Telecoms already took the money to do rural broadband and didn't deliver. 100%, Max. It's it is the billionaires and the corporations. How do we connect the broadband with the radio network? Ooh, what an interesting, I love that idea, Lee. I'm looking into a radio station, by the way. I actually have an FCC number. I already applied for that. So I have an official FCC number. I'm looking into it. I'm looking into an AM radio station. And I know it's ridiculous, but I don't care. I want to find out how you do those things. So, I don't know. I'm just curious. Morning, Teresa. Hello, darling. Oh yeah, he's a bigger tool than ever, Neil. Oh my God. And a rapist. Yep.
In passports, while we've been looking in other directions, they are being slowly yet deliberately introduced. Are they the linchpin in a global surveillance network?
So you might be wondering, like, what was the most?
You know what they're not interested in? NSO. These guys don't even think about Pegasus. They don't think about Peter Thiel. They don't. They probably don't even know who Peter Thiel is. That might be my next question at the next Chud event. Hi, who's Peter Thiel? I'm going to do that. Lolo's Pirate Radio. Fuck yeah. The Lounge. W Lounge. WLNG. A station. KWAP. No, I was thinking WLNG or something, or KLNG, I guess it would have to be, right? It's in the West. I'm doing it. I'm doing something. And then people will be able to have shows on it, and we're going to just pump factual information into the ether. I was thinking about radio and podcasts, how we fill the airtime with good content. See, that's my point, Carrie. I want everyone to fucking get online and outshout the nonsense. Are both these bearded ranters? No, that guy is a former right-winger, Neil. That's whose video we're watching. His name's Jimmy the Giant. He's a Brit, and KLOL. Oh, I don't know. It might be. I'll have to look. Yeah, I know. I don't recognize either. And anyone. WINR. We're winners. This is going to be great. We're going to have so much fun with this, you guys. It's going to be like our community radio station. So get ready to spin some discs. Anybody want to do a music show, a music hour? I'm serious. I'm doing this. I'm figuring this out. I don't care. Yeah, I just want to be out there. I want to be on someone's fucking car radio. Yes, Carla. Thank you. Yes, Iguana. Absolutely, Iggy. No, you didn't interrupt at all. Oh my goodness gracious, no. Music, everything. Everything. Tom Waits all the time. Yeah. You could do the Tom Waits hour. We need we need all kinds of artists. A call-in show? Fuck yeah, Teresa. Breaking news. We could have fun with this. Oh my God. I'll do it. I don't even care. I can't wait. Yes, you can, Iggy. I hope you do. You like have one of the deepest music knowledge that I've ever met in my fucking life. History of Protest Songs Hour. Muskie, that's a beautiful idea. I mean, they tried Air America and it flopped. I think F who is in their vehicle all day. Yeah. I'm in. I'll be your local Michigan reporter. Yes. Travel around the state. Local interest. Yes. I'll try an oldies show with the spinning the platters that matter. I fucking love this. Handy tips. No one tells us that a glue gun can save you during a hurricane. That's right. We'll have special interviews with the glue gun warrior. And the thing about it is we just put it out there. That's the thing. I'm just going to push until we get our message out. If it's on an internet radio station, fucking so be it. I don't care. We're going to do something. How to roll a joint hour. Hello. I would actually benefit from that. Handling your weed. Okay, here. All right. We're going to go ahead.
And there was one, right?
Oh, sorry. I kind of sped him up. I didn't mean to do that. Look how popular Car Talk was. Hello. Those guys were so funny. Oh my God. I love that show so much. I love that show. Oh, the other one is we need a game show. Like, wait, don't tell me. So someone's going to need to do a game show hour. Come on, guys. This could be fun. I don't know if I can pay you, but I'll figure that out. Okay. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. I don't need to be paid. But trivia! Hello? Doge going to defund CPB and NPR. Most of their funding is corporate user donation. Right. That's true. NPR is, thankfully. I mean, I'm doing it for free because I just want to do it. I don't give a shit. But I'll fight for funding so people get paid. God damn it. I'll do that. That used to be my job. I saw a video where someone used a tube to fill a pre-roll. I'll post in Discord. Fab. Oh, I have one of those. I have a funnel. I have a whole contraption. I have a whole MacGyver setup over here with my, if I need to stuff a joint. I've been buying pre-rolls because they've been on sale. And it's been cheaper to buy the pre-rolls than it is just the flour, which is kind of weird, but. Redoing my year-end contributions to NPR and PBS. Oh, Lee, what a love. God, you're a love. I miss everybody. I'm going to live closer to my friends. He just tapped the tube after filling. Oh, wow. That's pretty good because actually it does take a minute. And I'm not very good at it. All right, I'm going to shut up and we're going to watch the rest of this.
Right, and I can kind of point to it specifically. And it was through making my videos. Now, as you know, you guys are watching, you're probably really into all the social political stuff I do. But originally, I was a parkour YouTuber. And then I become like an extreme sports YouTuber. And when I got to the end of this period in 2022, I wanted to diversify my content, right? And I remember genuinely, I thought I was probably even going to make like those sort of right-wing documentary series, like things like Jen or like some of Moon's stuff, you know, that kind of thing. I thought I'd end up in that ilk. But you see, because I was a smart bruh and I could read the room, I knew that I could make a video why Jordan Peterson's the best man alive. I knew I had to take my time to kind of meander. So I made a video on a very specific topic about chavs.
Clothing brands that you didn't like were called chavs. Rough neighborhoods were considered chav infested. But what exactly is a chav? And most importantly, where did they all go?
And so I made this video. It's really interesting if you rewatch it because my biases and all of my thinking going into this video is that chavs are bad because they were dickheads and they chose to be bad. But whilst making the video and wanting to address the question like where did chavs go? Why did they disappear? I stumbled across a geezer called Owen Jones. I see Owen Jones and all of my, but you see it in the video. I'm like, look, guys, I'm about to quote Owen Jones. I don't agree with him, but what he says about chavs is really interesting. You should probably listen to it.
Truly a war in the public sphere. The author and journalist Owen Jones, who I have to admit, I don't really agree with him on a lot. He wrote an entire book called Chavs.
So I read it and I'm like, fuck, maybe chavs were like a product of their environment and their economic status. Bear in mind, this is the opposite. This is the antithesis of my view, is that I would have believed as a right-winger that cultures are just like people who make decisions to behave in the way they want to. So these are bad people who are choosing to be bad. So after this video, I go down different rabbit holes. I'm making different subcultures. I do skinheads and I do football hooligans, which are both in a very interesting period of time, which is the Thatcher era. And the more I research into Thatcher and see how she completely flipped this country on its head, she completely radicalized Britain into being extreme neoliberal capitalists. And it's kind of become just assumed that that's how the world has always worked. That's how we are. But then I discovered that at some point in society, we weren't fucking insane capitalists that we are right now. I've discovered this because there was a period of time called the post-war consensus, which I talk about fucking endlessly on this channel. But in that period of time, we followed a style of economics that was called Keynesianism, which meant that the government's job was to make sure everyone was employed and to tax the wealthy at higher rates, use that money to build infrastructure that benefited the people. And then bear in mind, you know, I'm listening to Donald Trump saying, make America great again, and everyone's harping on about how the world was better back in like the 60s and 50s. And then I find out the reason why it was better was because we had mass public investment. This investment led to the greatest economic boom in history, raised many of the working class into the middle class, which created a whole host of new industries, new products, basically, it was good shit. What we did then was good. And you know, you got to bear in mind that I am being told the only answer to life's problems is dog eat dog, free market capitalism. Get the government out of everything. The government can do nothing right.
So again, he's totally identifying and doing a great job. I love I've never heard of chavs. I know the persona, the trope kind of thing. Just from, like watching Skins and other, like all the kind of shows and all that stuff. But that, I think this is really, it's interesting that he points to, again, the independence and the libertarianism. And I think that's a rising worldview, or if you will, especially among young men, it feels like. Again, referring back to the manosphere, because I'm going to tell you right now, a few years ago when I found that guy, muscle game something frame or something, modern dating life. I found that channel, Modern Dating Life. And that guy was basically how to, get chicks overseas and all this kind of stuff. Basically how to be just the ultimate bro, right? Which he isn't the ultimate bro. He's disgusting. But his whole manosphere is built on men good, women fuck toys, and that's really it. If your woman doesn't serve you, then kick her out, kind of thing. So it's really far more disgusting than even what I just said, but you get the point. Yeah, Reagan and Thatcher, really an interesting time, I think, in global geopolitics kind of thing. I know, chavs. I hope this guy visits Canada so I can tell him to F off in person. Oh, we got a Tulsi Gabbard rundown? Fuck yeah, we're almost done with this guy, but thank you. Yeah, this is so good.
Only the geniuses of commerce can do anything, like our water supply that has no piss and poo in it, or like our really quick and definitely on time and affordable train system, or like our really affordable housing that people definitely aren't speculating on and shrinking the middle class.
Private water companies are dumping huge amounts of raw sewage in Britain's rivers and off its coastlines. They're doing so to save money, to ensure returns for shareholders, and by extension, to guarantee massive salaries for bosses at the top.
And so yeah, time's going past, man, and I'm learning.
To me is also the TYT.
Fuck, and I'm starting to realise, like,
the Young Turks.
If I believe all the things that I believe about right-wing politics, but
especially
I hadn't accepted
in the US,
it, right? I was becoming more and more distrustful. Things like this, right? One month I went on holiday to Thailand. I walk in a coffee shop and I see the most beautiful woman on earth, who is now my wife, and she is Ukrainian. I go to Ukraine. Literally, during the war, I've been to Ukraine many times, and I've experienced air raids. I've heard bombs go off.
Here again, more attacks. Putin must be having a slow day.
All the while, I look on my phone at all the right-wingers talking about Ukraine, and they believe that Zelensky is like, I don't know, a blue-haired feminist or something.
I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine.
And they're trying to say that it's actually NATO, and NATO are the bad guys, and America's bad, even though we're pro-America, America is bad. And, I'm learning more about the Ukrainian conflict and all the history of how it came to be and why we defend them and why we can't allow Russia to just go and take over sovereign nations. And so you learn more and more about this. But then there was two people I come across that really cemented the change, right? So I'm becoming distrustful of the right. I'm starting to see their takes on Ukraine as being ridiculous. And then I come across a streamer.
I did.
So right now we're deep in the sort of Andrew Tate era. Andrew Tate has blown up, and at first it was kind of, it was kind of fun. It was like, especially if you're sort of a young right-wing libertarian type, you need to get strong to.
Ding ding ding, ding 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 ding. Manosphere, man. It's all about. It's the men's rights. It's Jaron Jackass Jackson. Remember him? If you ever followed me before, you'll remember Jaron Jackass Jackson. Famous men's rights advocate, including sitting on a board of an organization that is devoted to men's rights. So it's not just an inference. He's based in Oklahoma. He became the one of the blunt instruments for Lynn Wood et al. Now he's just spouting off, into the void in his stupid overalls. An idiot. But anyway, this whole move, this whole resurgence, I think, of this men's rights, men are men are victimized by wokeness and all this. Yeah, I've got the JD post. I'll pull it up.
To look after yourself, look after women, looking after the people you love. Like that sort of stuff was kind of nice. I started going to the gym, I started doing all that stuff. I was always sort of into the self-help stuff, so all that shit sounded good. And then he started to talk about women.
To some degree, as a man, you have to instill drama in the relationship, because if you don't, she's going to get bored.
No, that's very true, man.
And she's either going to leave or she will instill the drama, which gives her control.
Then you're seeing all these Fresh and Fit podcasts and Sneeko and all this crazy shit. And you're seeing like people making...
Yeah, what Gal said. They see their movement as a counter-revolution to civil rights and women's rights.
Their entire livings complaining about women. And you're like, what the fuck is this? And there was one bruh who would go on these shows, and his name was Destiny.
Women fare a lot better post-divorce than men do, bro. And the reason why is...
Here's another one, Fresh and Fit podcast. Really fucking abusive. If you've ever... I've watched a little bit. I can't stay for long, but they're part of my whole life. What is this men's rights kind of women as objects thing? And because I was watching Modern Life Dating, up came these assholes.
Because they get the resource, they get the money, they get the children, they get put in a better situation financially.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Dude, they get the house. Moms don't live good on child support. That's not true. What? Have you ever seen a bitch on child support? She's not living the greatest fucking life.
Women fare worse than men in almost every degree after divorces. So the idea of pretending...
What are you talking about?
They make more money. They have better dating strategies afterwards. Men just do better than women in almost every single metric post-divorce.
What? Bro?
Destiny was really interesting because he was a lefty and he was proud to be a lefty. He didn't try and hide. He didn't say he was like a centrist. He was like, no, I'm on the left. But he didn't play into like the left-wing woke crazy stereotype. He was just a normal dude who presented left-wing ideas but was really good at debating. Now remember, debating the left up until this point was Ben Shapiro debating a 4-year-old. But now you're seeing someone who's actually quite well versed in the beliefs of the right wing, debating them and winning a lot. So I get into Destiny, right? And I even was going to make a video on Destiny. I might do it again one day. And I had a conversation with him on a stream, but I was so right-wing at the time, I didn't know how to make the video because I kind of had this mental block between really asking him sort of questions. But then the final nail in the coffin for me, at the point where I realized I was no longer right-wing, was when I came across Gary's economics.
You need to have structures in place in your economy that prevent the rich from taking all of the wealth. If you don't have that, history teaches us the rich get all of the wealth. And once the rich have all of the wealth, ordinary people end up with very poor living conditions. You know, if you go to countries that are very unequal, India, South Africa, you know, almost anywhere in Latin America, very unequal societies lead to very poor living standards.
Gary is like a working class geezer and he became super wealthy as a trader. And his whole thing, his whole thesis was that income inequality is going to get worse. And he betted on that. He made money predicting that and it came to fruition. Income inequality has got much worse. And what's interesting, right, is he talked about income inequality and why it was bad and why it's bad for house prices and cost of living, etc. But the thing is, and I don't know if he doesn't really talk about this too much, but it clicked, it unlocked this vault in the back of my brain. It was this old memory of a clip that Jordan Peterson had put out. And it was him talking about the correlation between income inequality and crime.
You know, you always hear this idea that poverty causes crime. That's a classic left-wing idea, but it's wrong. What causes crime, especially aggressive crime, is relative poverty. Poverty is when you don't have enough to eat. Relative poverty is when the guy next door has a much better car than you.
The right wing really love to argue about culture. They always say that like it's people's, the problems in society comes from people's ideas and beliefs and their values, which is super convenient, right? Because when anything goes bad, you can just say that, oh, well, it's because people are lazy or they're radical Marxist or this. All the while, there's no solution to that, right? What can you do? You can't change people's minds. So it's just like, oh, well, I guess we just have to accept the status quo. But when you fundamentally challenge that view, the sort of outcomes come from culture and people's individual decisions, and you start to realize that outcomes, you know, like negative outcomes, crime, poverty, people having less families, having less kids, that maybe doesn't come from culture. Maybe the reason that men and women aren't having kids and getting married isn't because they're no longer Christian and they don't believe in families and the nuclear family. Maybe It's because no one can fucking afford to have families. Maybe it's because most people in their 20s still haven't moved out of their parents' house. Maybe it's because they don't make enough money between two people to afford to have a child. There's all these things that are happening. Which is fine. And you realize that probably the economic system is causing this. And it isn't just that the testosterone levels in men have dropped because,
system?
I don't know, they've fucking touched receipts or something. And so, yeah, the sort of like, the needle drop. Is that the expression? The pin drop? It all sort of made sense. I realized that I actually don't think everything is culture, and I think mainly things come from economics. I think most culture comes from economics. And like, yeah, of course, attitudes, values, beliefs, they also have an impact, but I think you cannot understate economics. And so from there, as I've had my fucking left-wing epiphany, my left-wiffany, I start to really realize, like, kind of the woke stuff. Yeah, it's annoying. Do we need to argue about if there's an egg in a salad emoji?
Yeah,
Is that
I don't
really
know.
that important? And you notice that in the 70s and the 80s, you see the rise of the National Front,
need his
racist
attitudes
and all this
about
sort of stuff. That just
language.
happened to be the same time as stagflation and the oil crisis. And then now, lo and behold,
Yeah,
2024,
actually, this is
we're
where
in
he
big
starts
economic
correlating
problems. And it just so
economic events, which is fine. That's fine. I'm not an expert in that, so I have no idea. But I just think that's interesting. Oh, what a good video. God, I really, really enjoyed that video. Thank you so much, Carrie. I really appreciate you pointing that out. I just think it's such an interesting view into one person's journey through that right-wing kind of chasm from leftist to right to back into kind of, clear thinking, I guess, or, again, but it's not even a criticism, but my only addition to what he's saying is looking one step or two steps back from what he's describing as the dynamic of being pulled in by that information, and looking at how, what information was it, who was delivering that message, why might they be delivering that message, and how has disinformation fed his transition into right wing and then again out of, so I think that's an and conversation that I would like to have. Hi, Catamus. It is called, and I'll link it in the description. It's called How I Escaped the Alt-Right Pipeline. And he doesn't have to go there. You know what I mean, Carrie? I'm not even expecting him to do the entire thing. I'm just interested in, I have seen Daryl Davis, Carla. He's amazing. He is amazing. Oh, wonderful. This goes with the current topic. Okay. And so this, I think, and I'll link, it's Jimmy the Giant is the name of the channel, Cat. Jimmy the Giant, all one handle. And I subscribed. I'm very interested to, I want to kind of see other videos. He has a couple of videos now talking about different dynamics of this whole, transformation, I guess. So yeah, interesting, very interesting. So I would just do a yes and, again, no criticism. I just think this is why it's such a complex situation. The mind fucking, this is why Mike Flynn gets away with it. This is what I really want to say. This is why Mike Flynn gets away with it. Because what we don't do is we don't hold accountable the people who are doing the mind fucking. Right? Really, Mike Flynn, I've heard chuds say Mike Flynn. I've heard Billy, okay, for those of you who followed whatever the post-convoy nonsense is, Billy has said things about Mike Flynn. So they're aware of who Mike Flynn is at the lowest levels of Chudville. So, and they're aware of what his role is as the head of digital soldiers, okay? They know that. They got it. The message was received. But that's why I think it's really important to talk about the disinformation and the mind fucking, because if we don't, A, we're never going to address it. And it's going to just get worse. And B, the people who are actually effectuating all this, i.e. Mike Flynn, Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, name your villain, Alex Jones, name whatever coordinating villain you want, Peter Thiel, Rumble, Peter Thiel founded Rumble. Come on now. Co-founded. Putin. Name your fighter. But we must turn our collective attention to that aspect as well as all of these other aspects like economic gaps. Well, but it's interesting that we just voted against closing any economic gaps or any potential to do so, but that's okay. Apparently. Anyway. Thank you so much. All right, this is a piece. This is a piece about Tulsi Gabbard. Gives surfing a bad name. This is from today, from Public Notice. Thank you, Gal, for sharing this. La 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 la. Oh, it's Aaron Rupar. Sorry about that. All right. All right, it's Aaron. All right, settle in. We're going to read a little something, something, something. And then I'll check that other link, my darling. All right. Donald Trump has selected Tulsi Gabbard, former Congresswoman and notorious Putin stooge, as his nominee for Director of the Office of National Intelligence. It's difficult to imagine a candidate less suited to carry out the DNI's mission, and that's very likely just the reason that Trump chose her. Gabbard has virtually none of the experience or expertise required to competently assume DNI's weighty responsibility of marshaling the information and analyses gathered by the nation's intelligence agencies and coordinating their work. Gabbard's long-standing association with a shadowy right-wing cult, her history of suspicious uses of campaign funds, her habitual conspiracism and advocacy for the interest of bloodthirsty dictators, including Syria's Bashar al-Assad as well as Putin, all raise a multiplicity of red flags. But, as Donald Trump made clear during his first term in office, national security is hardly at the top of his list of priorities. In fact, hobbling the nation's intelligence agencies is one of his principal goals. Trump has long held a grudge against the work of competent intelligence and counterintelligence professionals, including in the FBI, CIA, and the Office of the DNI. That is unsurprising, given that their work has inevitably raised questions about Trump's own curious associations and affinities with many of the nation's sworn enemies, as reflected in the events that gave rise to the Mueller investigation and Trump's first impeachment. Accordingly, Trump spent much of his first 4 years in the White House sidelining and firing intelligence professionals and attempting, increasingly aggressively, to replace them with stooges, a project he clearly wants to complete this time around. On that background, his elevation of someone like Gabbard to the DNI position makes perfect sense. The Office of the DNI was established at the recommendation of the 9/11 Commission to integrate the work of the nation's long siloed and often competing intelligence and counterintelligence agencies. It's meant to ensure that policymakers receive timely and accurate analyses, but that is exactly what Trump does not want to happen. Since he first took office in 2017, Trump has viewed the nation's intelligence agencies and law enforcement institutions as the most serious threats to him and his cronies. There's good reason for this. Those institutions have a history of uncovering information incriminating Trump himself. Trump spent much of his first term seeking out a DNI who was willing to betray their statutorily assigned job of providing accurate intelligence. He shuffled through no less than 5 of them in the process. Trump's first DNI, former conservative Senator Dan Coats, was forced out in 2019 after he acknowledged that Russia, as well as North Korea and Iran, had schemed to influence the outcome of the 2016 election. Coats reportedly came to believe that Putin had an illicit hold over Trump. Well, la la la. Later in 2019, an irate Trump fired his handpicked successor to Coats, Robert McGuire. Remember him? Nobody does. Before he could be confirmed by the Senate because McGuire dared to permit a member of his staff to do her job by briefing senators on Russian efforts to interfere in the then upcoming 2020 election. Oh, thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Have a good one. Let's see. Trump appeared to be pleased with his next 2 DNIs. The first of them was MAGA partisan Rick Grinnell. Oh, we know Rick. He held the job on an acting basis for a short time, but made Trump happy by selectively declassifying materials at his behest and fucking around over in, Eastern Europe. The second John Ratcliffe, and that's not irony, that's real, was a former Republican House member who, like Gabbard, had little national security experience, but a record as a fierce opponent of the Russia investigation. Well, then you're hired. You're hired. Let's see. Ratcliffe was Trump's initial choice to replace Coates as DNI, but Trump withdrew his nomination in August 2019 because of opposition, including from Republican legislators concerned that he might politicize intelligence. Oh my God. I remember those days back in 2019. But Trump renominated Ratcliffe in February 2020, and he was narrowly confirmed in May of that year, just in time for him to politicize intelligence at the height of that year's presidential campaign. Most notoriously, before the 2020 election and over the objections of the CIA and NSA, Ratcliffe chose to declassify an unverified Russian report that purported to exculpate Russia for its own DNC email hacking scheme during the 2016 campaign. I don't even remember that. I just want to click on that so that we have it. Hold on. Okay. Trump was so pleased with Ratcliffe's abuse of the DNI position that he has nominated him to serve as CIA director during his second term. But Trump's selection of Ratcliffe has gotten little attention in the wake of the nomination of Gabbard for Ratcliffe's old job, and for good reason. Her biography prepares her to be a truly disastrous director of national intelligence. Oh, goody. Oh, goody. Few political figures have amassed as curious a record of right-wing culture war. Okay, come on. Culture warring, faux progressivism, and conspiracism as extensive as Trump's new DNI pick. Gabbard, who was born in Samoa and grew up in Hawaii, is the daughter of Mike Gabbard, a longtime Hawaiian political figure who's currently a member of the state legislature. Mike Gabbard began his political career as a Republican, but joined the Democratic Party in 2007 because he said Republicans have little power in the state. In addition to being Catholic, Mike Gabbard is also a longtime member of a secretive offshoot of the Hare Krishna movement called the Science of Identity Foundation, which is centered in Hawaii. Oh. SIF is frequently called a cult, and for good reason. Its reclusive leader, Chris Butler, is known for his condemnation of homosexuality, which some SIF leaders claim is a gateway to pedophilia, and antagonism toward Islam. The group has long focused on political activities and once even started its own political party called the Independence for Godly Government, which disclaimed affiliation with SIF, although it was reportedly founded and funded by SIF members. Even before becoming an elected official, Mike Gabbard gained prominence for his ardent homophobia, having founded various anti-gay and anti-same-sex marriage organizations, including one bearing the name, quote, Stop Promoting Homosexuality International. Jesus Christ. He declared that as the owner of a health food store, he would discriminate against gay job applicants. From the outset, Tulsi followed in her father's religious and political footsteps. She also became an SIF devotee and got her start in politics working for an anti-gay marriage PAC in 1998. She was elected to the Hawaii House of Representatives in 2002, where she came to prominence, leading, along with her father, the successful opposition to a bill that would have legalized gay marriage in the state. How come nobody talks about that? Gabbard chose to resign from the legislature before her National Guard unit deployed to Iraq. She ultimately became a captain in the Army Reserve, but she later returned to Hawaii politics. She was elected to the Honolulu City Council in 2009 and to the U.S. House in 2012 as a Democrat. Despite her background in a right-wing cult, the telegenic and spooky, scary, I've read he does so to get people to leave. I don't know. I'll have to watch his videos, though. I haven't seen his videos in a while. Let's see. Gabbard purported to renounce her family's history as Hawaii's leading homophobes, as did her father. She began to be touted as a rising star in the party, as reflected in her appointment as vice chair of the DNC in 2013. Wow. So she just renounced it. Okay. All right. Gabbard did stand out, however, for going on Fox News to condemn to condemn then-President Obama for being soft on Islamic extremism, which was then a favorite talking point for Republicans and supporters of the Iraq War. Gabbard's political career took a new turn in February 2016 when she resigned from the DNC after endorsing Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign. She spent months loudly endorsing claims that there were illicit schemes afoot in the DNC to undermine Sanders. These conspiracy theories were avidly being promoted by the Kremlin at the same time as part of Putin's scheme to foment chaos and dissension in the Democratic Party. He did it! He did it! She lost her poop. Gabbard also became a prominent foe of the nation's so-called forever wars, a bandwagon that then emerging GOP presidential candidate Donald Trump had jumped on as he opposed candidates like Jeb Bush for the Republican nomination. Yet soon after bursting onto the national political stage as a champion of a progressive presidential candidate, Gabbard made yet another shift. Soon after Trump prevailed in the 2016 election, Gabbard met with the then-president-elect at Trump Tower, where she joined the stream of Republicans seeking posts in the new Trump administration. Trump didn't give Gabbard a job at that time, but it was clear that her time as a rising Democratic Party star was a thing of the past. Even before Gabbard started openly warming up to MAGA, she had begun to display a curious partiality to Putin and his cronies, including the bloodthirsty Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad, who has massacred massive numbers of his own citizens with the avid assistance of Russia and Iran. In 2015, while a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Gabbard visited the Turkey-Syria border, where she met with several young girls who had suffered horrific burns in a recent Russian airstrike. Upon meeting the wounded girls, Gabbard began spouting Putinist propaganda. She suggested they had been victims of an airstrike by ISIS, which did not even possess an air force, rather than by the Russian Air Force, which was then relentlessly bombarding Syrian cities, as it would later bombard Ukraine. During the next several years, as the evidence mounted that Assad was unleashing a campaign of terror on his own nation and massive numbers of refugees were streaming into Europe, Gabbard's affinity for patently false Russian and Assadist propaganda about the conflict only grew. In 2017, she even traveled to Syria to hold friendly meetings with Assad, who was by then a notorious international pariah. Gabbard evolved into a virtual spokesperson for the Kremlin's favored talking points and began to specialize in excusing Russian atrocities and massacres. As former Trump National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster recently observed, Gabbard, quote, parrots Vladimir Putin's talking points, including the Russian dictator's claim, long rejected by U.S. intelligence agencies, that Putin's attack on Ukraine was somehow the fault of NATO. By 2020, Gabbard's remaining base in the Democratic Party was comprised largely of fellow tankies, whose focus is on the perceived evils of U.S. foreign policy and the purported benignity of the Russian, Syrian, and even Iranian regimes. Gabbard, whose chances of winning re-election to Congress in Hawaii were dim, chose not to run for another term in the House and instead launched a long-shot bid for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination. Gabbard's candidacy was a fringe enterprise from start to finish. She peaked at 2% in the polls. It also raised questions about her continued connections to the SIF cult that had provided the start to her political career. While Gabbard contended she had left the right-wing Hare Krishna offshoot to become a mainstream Hindu, her small campaign paid more than $259,000 to Chris Robinson, a purported media consultant in rural Washington state who had no record of working on political campaigns but was tied to SIF. Meanwhile, Gabbard's husband, also a long-standing SIF adherent, received payments from her federal campaign committees, including for his work creating prolific numbers of sometimes bizarre web videos of his spouse. Shortly after dropping her quixotic presidential campaign, Gabbard endorsed Biden. But before long, her fondness for Putin and the right-wing culture warring that marked the beginning of her political career brought her once again into the Trumpist orbit, and this time far more enthusiastically. I know. She is so weird. I'm sorry. She has not been deprogrammed yet. Gabbard became a regular on Tucker Carlson's Fox News show, where she joined in his isolationism, increasingly open praise of the Putin dictatorship, and his derision of Ukraine. Gabbard also enthusiastically endorsed Carlson's transphobia, echoing some of the same rhetoric she had once used to denounce same-sex marriage. In 2022, Gabbard, to the then surprise of nobody, released a video announcing her resignation from the Democratic Party, stating, quote, "I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that is now under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers driven by cowardly wokeness who divide us by radicalizing every issue and stoke anti-white racism." I'm going to read that again. Radicalizing every issue and stoke anti-white racism, actively work to undermine our God-given freedom. Oh, I mean, I'm Hindu, but no, never mind. Anyway, hostile to people of faith and spirituality, demonize the police and, yeah, right, okay, and protect criminals at the expense of law-abiding Americans, believe in open borders, which I know isn't true, weaponize the national security state to go after political opponents, again, not true, and above all, drag us ever closer to nuclear war. Thank you. Sorry. Gabbard's transformation into an open and notorious right-wing conspiracist and transphobic bigot was complete. It therefore came as no surprise when, during the ensuing months, she joined the GOP and also became a Fox News host. In the wake of her coming out as a MAGA Republican, Gabbard, who was a candidate for nothing, continued her eccentric approach to political financial activities, creating and raising money for a number of political action committees, ostensibly for the purpose of supporting Republican candidates. Gabbard's PACs, however, contributed little money to candidates, and instead, in an echo of her 2020 presidential campaign, appear to have enriched the coffers of consultants and of Gabbard's own political team. Oh, no kickbacks there. No kicksies backsies. While Gabbard may not have helped many candidates for elected office, she did manage to increase her profile with Trump, as reflected in the nomination of the thoroughly unqualified stooge for DNI. Ooh, tell us how you feel, Aaron. With the nomination of Gabbard for DNI, as well as the naming of proven lackey Ratcliffe to serve as CIA director, oh my God, we're just not going to have any secrets. Get ready, folks. We're going to have to start over again. Trump is situating himself to carry out the complete hobbling of the nation's intelligence and counterintelligence institutions that eluded him during his first term. The office of the DNI was established to address the intelligence failures that, supplemented by the arrogance of many of George W. Bush's senior advisors, led the nation to miss the ample evidence of planning ahead of September 11th. The risks of politicized intelligence and thus the need for a role like the DNI was demonstrated soon after the terrorist attacks when Bush embarked upon the disastrous Iraq War based on deeply flawed analysis concerning Saddam Hussein's, as it turned out, non-existent weapons of mass destruction programs. Well, that's Wolfowitz. Okay? That's a Wolfowitz-Cheney thing, isn't it? So it wasn't a mistake or it wasn't bad intelligence. All right, I'm going to stop. The CIA and other intelligence agencies have also suffered several disasters arising from its penetration by clandestine spies, including Russian agents, who have repeatedly undermined counterintelligence operation in the U.S. and U.K., such as Aldrich Ames and Kim Philby and his fellow Cambridge spies. Most recently, the disregard by the leaders of Israeli intelligence agencies of the ample evidence of Hamas planning for the 10/7 massacre offered a stark reminder of the heavy cost a country can pay for flawed intelligence institutions or deliberate. Oh my God. I mean, I understand you need evidence, but let's not be totally, this is how we got here. If we don't kind of call shit out, it does. It's really yeah, you're right, Neil. It's a lot of very upset Bernie bros too. And I get it. But it's, then you have to then rise above that and you have to think about other people. And when I put other people in the center of my decision making, I tend to come out with better decisions. It's all love. All right. It's easy to understand why Trump, who has long proved willing to sacrifice the national interest, These kinds of failures have been catastrophic enough. Yet, no U.S. president has set out to deliberately gut the nation's intelligence agencies, let alone intentionally stock them with minions who carp for the world's worst dictators, as Trump is now doing. It's easy to understand why Trump, who has long proved willing to sacrifice the national interest for his personal interest, sees value in putting a stake in the heart of the nation's intelligence agencies. From his perspective, the risk they will uncover wrongdoing by him or the authoritarian leaders he identifies with is too great. But if Trump succeeds in this nihilistic project, the risk of a catastrophic outcome for the country will be very high. Those are the stakes as the Senate considers a Trump's absurdly irresponsible nomination of Gabbard. It is the responsibility of Democrats, including those sitting in opposition in the Senate, to make those risks clear. Oh, thanks, Aaron. I don't need Black Friday. What do you get out of here? This is Trump's spy chief declassified unverified Russian intelligence despite concerns. This was from September of 2020. Look at that. God, he looks like a testicle. Doesn't he? Doesn't he look like a testicle? And the Webby goes to Lolo's Lounge. Doesn't he look like a testicle? I'm sorry for that first thing in the morning. I hope you're not eating. Let's see. This was 2020. Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe declassified unverified Russian intelligence, despite concerns being raised by the CIA and National Security Agency. Remember those days when we had agencies that might speak up a little bit tiny? Remember that? I mean, they were quickly shut down, so don't, I'm not saying they spoke up and things changed. I'm just saying that's the way it is. Career officials in the intelligence agencies were concerned about declassifying the information because it was unverified, and they believed it could reveal sources and methods. Ratcliffe overrode those concerns and sent the document to Senate Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham on Tuesday in September of 2020. Declassified document, which includes a Russian intelligence assessment from 2016 that Hillary Clinton had approved a campaign plan to stir up a scandal against then candidate Donald Trump by tying him to Russia and the hack of the Democratic National Committee, has sparked charges from Democrats that Ratcliffe was politicizing intelligence and sharing Russian disinformation. It was the latest in a string of declassified documents Ratcliffe and Attorney General William Barr have provided to Senate Republicans. Oh my God, there's so much of our documents out there. And others targeting the FBI's Russia investigation ahead of the November 2020 election. Ratcliffe noted in the summary he provided to Graham that the intelligence community does not know the accuracy of this allegation or the extent to which Russian intelligence analysis may reflect exaggeration or fabrication. You know what that is. That's lying. Ratcliffe later issued a clarifying statement that the information is not Russian disinformation, but multiple intelligence and law enforcement officials say the possibility of that disinformation has been ruled by what? I don't even get it. Is not Russian disinformation, but multiple intelligence and law enforcement officials, say the possibility that it is disinformation hasn't been ruled out by the intelligence agencies. Hasn't been ruled out? Hasn't been ruled out? What do you mean hasn't been ruled out? After releasing the information on Tuesday in September of 2020, Ratcliffe quickly went to Capitol Hill to brief Graham on the matter, according to two sources. Republican and Democratic Senate Intelligence Committee staff also took part in Tuesday's briefing on the Russian intelligence. But Democratic staffers for House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff and Senator Dianne Feinstein, rest in peace, the Judiciary Committee's top Democrat, were not allowed to join the briefing, according to two sources. I'm going to save this. Senate Judiciary Committee Republican staffers were also not allowed to participate. So only some Democrat staffers. Wait, what? Oh, we're not. Oh, the Democratic staffers for them were not allowed to participate. Well, who was participating? Republican and Democratic Senate Intelligence Committee staff. Okay. So just not these specific staffers. Asked about the briefing for lawmakers, an ODNI spokesperson told CNN the DNI offered a briefing to a bipartisan group of senators or their staff, and the briefing took place last night with bipartisan attendance. We aren't going to comment on who was in the room. Additional briefings may be forthcoming. The DNI has made offers to the leadership of both the House and the Senate Intelligence Committees. Graham has cited the document at Wednesday's hearing with former FBI Director James Comey, asking Comey if he investigated the matter. Comey said he didn't know what Ratcliffe was referring to. I can't answer that. I've read Mr. Ratcliffe's letter, which frankly I've had trouble understanding, Comey said. I fucking hate Comey. Graham argued that he wasn't concerned with whether the information was true or not, but argued that it showed the FBI didn't investigate Clinton and Russia like they did the Trump's campaign. Apparently, this was swept under the rug, and the point we're trying to make here is there's a double standard. It's as obvious as night and day, and this is, if anything, the smoking gun, Graham said, while crossing his fingers behind his back. Of course, the Russian intelligence involving Clinton that Graham referenced was unverified, while the FBI began investigating members of Trump's campaign after the Australian ambassador told the FBI about his conversation with Trump campaign advisor and Russian spy spouse advisor George Papadopoulos, where the ambassador said Papadopoulos discussed Russia having dirt on Clinton. Graham also said at Wednesday's hearing that he had not been privately briefed on the matter despite his briefing with Ratcliffe on Tuesday. The NSA declined to comment. The CIA referred to blah. Asked Tuesday if Ratcliffe declassified the information despite objections from officials and at other intelligence agencies, ODNI responded by providing an on-the-record statement from Ratcliffe that did not directly address the issue, but said the material was not Russian disinformation. Basically, on Wednesday, an ODNI spokesperson declined to comment. We don't comment on internal IC deliberations. Is there more? No, that's it. Okay. Very interesting. All right, let me see. I've got something here. Hold on. Don't leave me hanging. Do 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 do. Tell it like it is. Oh wow! Oh fuck yeah! You're amazing, gal suburban. I love you. Gal suburban, I love you. All right. I love essays. All right. This is from New America, newamerica.org. And this is misogynist incels and male supremacism. Girl, you're speaking my language. Overview and recommendations for addressing the threat of male supremacist violence. Oh boy. This is very... How long is this? Let me see. Do they have a PDF? Do you have a PDF? Well, let's go to the executive summary and just jump in there. Oh, it's so... Why do smart people make their website so tiny? Don't make your website so tiny. Thank you. Thank you. Standing ovation. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right, here we go. Executive summary. Now, this is about misogyny and incels. You know what? You know how much Lolo just loves her incels. All right, let me take a drink of coffee. I have a lot to cover today, so don't think you're going anywhere. I got a couple other things after this. So you're not going anywhere. Okay. Settle in. Mass violence connected to incel ideology has increased public and academic scrutiny of incel communities online. Although not all such communities support violence, and not all those who identify as incel will go on to commit violence, incel communities have drawn the public, academic, and policy world's attention. The Institute for Research on Male Supremacism recommends the term misogynist incel. Can we call it a mincel? I just invented that term. Mincel. Misogynist incel. Mincel. Are you with me? Are you with me? Can I get an amen? Which can be understood linguistically as similar to the construction of the term racist skinhead. To distinguish the male supremacist ideology and movement from personal identification with the term incel. A failure to distinguish people who identify as incels or involuntarily celibate, including women, from misogynist incels leads to flawed recommendations and significant misunderstandings of the nature of this community and the prevalence of misogyny in our societies and violence against women. In this brief, we overview the formation and the history of the incel community, focusing on the ideology of misogynist incels and its basis in dehumanization of women and male entitlement as it connects to the glorification and perpetration of violence. And I would say white supremacy as well. Kind of that Western chauvinism, you know, and all that shit. All that shit. Remember when Trump gave classified information from Israeli intelligence? Yes. Yes, Jim Milgren. I do. I do. Yeah, we're going to call them mincels. Mincels. Or misincels. I don't know what we're going to... Well, mencels. Mencel's easier. Okay. I hope it doesn't mean something bad in another language, though. That's always my fear. I make up a word and then it means something really horrible in another language or in this language, and I just didn't know it. I'm always afraid of that. Okay. Misogyny is not unique to incels. Male supremacism can be understood as operating on a spectrum, and misogynist incels cannot be separated from broader societal patterns of misogyny. Misogynist incels' beliefs develop from a male supremacist culture that consistently fails to mitigate violence against women and girls and teaches men that they are entitled to women for sexual and romantic fulfillment and that women are only valued for their instrumentality to these ends. Although misogynist incels use more extreme dehumanizing language and glorification of violence, their belief systems and ideologies are developed from and supported by the cultural and societal contexts in which they live. Practitioners countering violent extremism and others must keep in mind that misogynist incels are not unique in their misogyny and take care that interventions do not enable other forms of misogyny as solutions to the incel threat. Understanding misogynist incels as one of the several contemporary male supremacist movements, the recommendations made at the end of this brief apply broadly to male supremacist ideological violence. Other acts of violence in 2020 connected to misogynist ideology, but not the misogynist incel movement, include the targeting of a woman federal judge by a men's rights lawyer who frequented male separatist men going their own way forums. We make 5 key recommendations as a starting point to address threats posed by misogynist incel violence and other forms of male supremacism. Support improved mental health services and access as a social good, but don't mistake this as don't mistake this for a solution to ideological violence. Provide possible alternatives for intervention programs and suggest that interventions should draw on examples of programs designed to deal with domestic abuse perpetrators and counter racist violence for specialized counseling. Avoid interventions that reinforce boys' and men's entitlement. Collaborations with gender justice organizations can strengthen program design. Intervene early and through routine systems to prevent movement along a spectrum of dehumanization and misogyny toward violent extremes. Fund more research and collab into male supremacism broadly and protect researchers' ability to work in the face of threats and doxing. Oh my goodness. Let me take a look at what the contents. All right. History, the foundation. Red pill to black pill. I think I'm going to do the rest of this as an entire show. Cuz this is really, I want to see, it's not terribly long, but it's kind of long. I think oops. Okay, I think I'm definitely going to read this. Wait, I need to bookmark it. But I also want to go through some other things. Because I don't want you to walk away going, "Oh my god, I just walked out of a university lecture." I think it's MINCEL, Carla, is what I was thinking, but I kind of like your MENCEL. I kind of like that. That kind of is, that to me kind of says it. Mencel. I like that better, actually. So, all right. Let's see. Let me go to. This is amazing. I gotta bookmark that. Manosphere problems. And this is from, let's see, you did that in 2022. That's gal from 2022. Let me make this bigger. All Influence, Broadcasting the Reactionary Right, presents data from approximately 65 political influencers to ID Alternative Influence Network, alt media system that adopts techniques of brand influencers to build audiences and sell political ideology. Oh, shit, man. Fuck, man. Rabbit hole, bright eyes, give me another hole to jump on in. Which one? The last link has a good article. This is the one I'm on. Okay, maybe. Did I miss it? Did I miss it? Oh, I probably just read it, didn't I? How do you know? Oh my god, my screen is like weird. When he starts, a woman once told me, thank you. Thank you, Jim Nelgren. Coming in hot. Yeah. I just want to understand it. I don't begrudge anyone their feelings of self-pity and, whatever. I just want to understand it. And I also have a daughter, and she's also in an industry that she has already experienced sexual harassment. All right. So this is real. This shit happens. It happens too much. And I notice it way too much online because it drops into my algorithm because I have steered myself towards right-wing content, clearly, through my viewing habits. But that's when I noticed it. And then when I went on Telegram, I got even deeper into seeing what this kind of growing, I mean, it's always been there, but it was burgeoning more explicitly, if you will. So I find this as a way of how we live together on this earth, under that category. I find it interesting. I find it very interesting. Let's see. But I want to devote a little time to go through the different sections of that document. And I think that would be extremely interesting. All right, let me see. I think I have. Where is my other thing? Where's my other thing? Is that it? That might be. No, that's not it. Hold on. Sorry, everybody. Hold on, everybody. Sorry. Sorry now. Sorry. Hold on. Oh my God. Hold on, everybody. Wait, is this the one? No, that's not it. Wow. I had a lot of stupid windows open. All right, let me see if this is what I wanted. Nope. Oh. Okay. All right. Hold on. Never mind. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Did I get the right article though, Gal? Did I get that right? That one? The incels, which is a brilliant article. Let me see. I want to look at I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike. I want to ride my bicycle. Oh, I wanted to read this. I got a couple things to read here. Fun. Friends. I thought that, I'm not gonna lie, I thought this kid was smoking a cigarette. Okay, good. Excellent. I didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to miss a thing. All right, here it is. The New York Times. Blech. Blech. But I found this yesterday and I'm like, well, that's interesting. Isn't that interesting? Trump's team rejection of a transition deal adds a wrinkle to its transparency pledges. This is from yesterday? Yeah, it should be. Yeah. Yeah. The president-elect's team said it would disclose its donors' names and not take donations from foreigners, but it isn't legally bound to adhere to those promises. This was the one at the end, and I think is a good read. Oh, excellent. Okay. This was the one at the end. Okay. Let me go back to that. Hold on. At the end of this link. Let's see. YouTube's problem with hate speech stems largely from video collabs, especially influencers with big audiences like Joe Rogan and far fringe of the intellectual dark web. Oh, this article. You meant this article. Well, let's read this article. Let's complete the loop. Is that the one? Oh wait, maybe like it's even farther. Oh geez, gal. This thread is incredible. Manosphere. Margaret. Okay. You know what? I'm going to have a whole Manosphere Monday. Divided we fall. This one. Okay. I'm going to read this one. But then we're going to also have a Manosphere Monday. It'll be lit. All right. This is from Georgia State University. Georgia State researchers on the factors driving polarization and extremism in America and what it would take to set the country on a different course. Thanks, Gal. Manosphere Monday. That's right. Thousands of people gathered at the Ellipse on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. on January 6 for a rally called Save America. The event took place just as a joint session of Congress was counting electoral votes to formalize then-President-elect Joe Biden's victory in the November 2020 election. And then Women's Day Wednesdays. And I don't want to get too gendered because I feel like gender is a concept. But, you know, every day will be women and trans and non-binary day. We'll make that the default. And then Manosphere will only have its own, you know, corners. I'm just kidding. I don't really, I hate gender. I can't wait till we're like out of the gender thing. We could shout out badass women, and we will. Absolutely. So we can do that. We can do that. I don't know. I can't stand gender stuff. I really don't. It really just rubs me the wrong way. It's a me thing. Let's see. The event took place around noon. President Donald Trump took the stage. Everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard, he said. Hundreds of rallygoers did go to the Capitol, but not all were peaceful, with many breaking through police barriers, cracking windows, and rushing the halls of Congress. Some attacked police, some stole an assortment of items, some just filmed with their smartphones and left. The electoral count was delayed by several hours as members of Congress fled the rioters. I think we should shout out really like badass people and make sure that that I'm being thoughtful about inclusivity. That's what I want to make sure, is that I'm being as inclusive as I can be, you know, given my, you know, I want to not necessarily, I want to be held to that. So I appreciate that. So yes, I want to be intentional about when we really lift up people. So thank you. Let's see here. More than 200. Oh my lordy, look who's so tiny. Nobody can read that. The hell. More than 250 people have since been charged with crimes. Oh, this is from 2021, by the way. I think. So, you know, we know all the numbers and all that good stuff. Whatever you call the events of Jan 6, Georgia State experts say it was a culmination of deep political polarization and pervasive acceptance of conspiracy theories and extremist views. And disinformation and mind fucking. Yes, and an NPR analysis found that nearly 20% of those arrested had ties to extremist or fringe groups like QAnon or the Proud Boys. What we saw at the Capitol was really a long time coming, said Tony Lemieux, a professor of communication who studies how propaganda drives radicalization. Distrust in both the media and elections have been building for years. And he says when you put those things together, you've got a really compelling case that violence might occur. Lemieux is one of several Georgia State faculty who have been studying the causes of domestic polarization and radicalization for years. Many are part of the university's Transcultural Conflict and Violence Initiative, which brings together researchers from disciplines that include communication studies, psychology, sociology, political science, and computer science in order to understand the causes of and develop solutions to conflict and violence that happens across borders and other types of boundaries. All right. Politically motivated acts of violence aren't some totally new phenomena for those of us who've been researching and following this space for years, said Lemieux. This is not going away. There's the researchers. Hey! In some ways, polarization can be good, says Dror Walter, assistant professor of communication. For the functioning of a good democratic society, you need some kind of disagreement in order to keep the political process moving. The problem, he says, comes when two sides go beyond simply disagreeing about political or cultural issues. Effective polarization refers to the negative sentiment towards one's political opponents, and it erodes our ability to cooperate and work together for the common good. An accumulation of antipathy can also lead to rule breaking and even violence aimed at members of the other party. This is so good. This deeper and deeply unhealthy form of polarization makes America vulnerable to nefarious outside influences, says Walter, who has researched the impact of online interference in U.S. politics by foreign actors. In one study, he and his co-authors analyzed nearly 3 million tweets sent over 3 years by the Internet Research Agency, a known Russian government troll farm. They found that Russian troll accounts on Twitter were using political polarization to spread disinformation and sow discord within the American public. And did anyone in America help them? Arrest Mike Flynn. They would and do create accounts with political identities that were somewhat consistent with real-life liberals or conservatives, so it looks like the account is run by, say, a Trump supporter or a Trump hater, he says. During the COVID-19 pandemic, these accounts have expressed pro or anti-vaccine preferences depending on the identity they were purporting to represent. Walter says issues like vaccine hesitancy, which on the surface may seem to be apolitical, are often casualties of war brought about by disinformation campaigns. No shit. They're building on our preconceived notions about who is supporting vaccines and who is anti-vaccine. This can exacerbate. And what happens when government officials stand up and are anti-vaccine, doctor? This can exacerbate polarization, but it can also make use of polarization to achieve other propaganda goals. He says foreign interference can also increase polarization by fueling greater animosity. So just the act of creating that animosity, regardless of topic, is the goal. It's a dangerous cycle. It's not just interference on social media that can drive false narratives in the U.S. In a paper published last year, Lemieux and colleagues, Alison Bettis, a Craigie international study scholar and PhD candidate in the Department of Communication, and Aram Kearns, a former Georgia State postdoctoral fellow, now at the University of Alabama, studied print news coverage of all terrorist attacks in the U.S. from 2006 to 2015. They found that while only 16% of the attacks covered by U.S. newspapers were perpetrated by Muslims, more than 3/4 of all articles about terrorism focused on these incidents. That kind of imbalanced coverage, disinformation, can fuel prejudice while discounting the danger of other groups. Quote, domestic terrorism in the U.S. is more complex than media coverage would suggest, with ongoing threats from a number of different extremist groups, he says. There are policy implications when we overemphasize perpetrators who line up with our own biases and beliefs while ignoring others. God, girl, you find the best stuff. You find the best shit. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security warned that last fall that white supremacist groups were the most persistent and legal threat in the nation. Male supremacist groups. Wait a minute. Let's just talk about that again. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security warned last fall, and this was whatever date it was, that white supremacist groups were the most persistent and lethal threat in the nation. Have we heard anything from them about them since? No. Male supremacist groups, which share the same ideology of hate, are also a rising danger. But not all members of these groups commit violent acts. What makes some people vulnerable to violent radicalization? Psychology professor John Horgan studies what causes people to become involved in terrorism. And in 2019, he received a grant from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to research the spread of the incel, or involuntary celibates, movement, a growing online male supremacist subculture. The Anti-Defamation League defines incels as heterosexual men who blame women in society for their lack of romantic success, and they have been responsible for several deadly attacks in the U.S. and in other countries. Horgan and his team are studying the group's activity and what drives some incels to perpetrate terrorism, including what role the internet plays in fomenting violence and hate. Fuck yeah. Welcome to my world. No, I'm just kidding. We are interested in understanding the differences, if any, between those incels who have committed acts of targeted violence versus the overwhelming majority of incels who do not, says Horgan. I just love how they talk about them as a group. It feels weird. We are trying to determine if there was anything in their backgrounds, words, or deeds of those attackers that might help us understand why they acted out against others. To uncover these differences, Horgan and his team are analyzing known cases of incel violence as well as manifestos and statements by violent and nonviolent incels. This type of data could eventually help experts identify who is likely to commit violence and develop effective interventions. By understanding how these attitudes develop and what the red flags are, we can help prevent further violence from taking place, says Horgan. Partisan antipathy, in the U.S. has led many Americans to believe they are facing a threat from within their own country. Oh, and when the president said the enemy is within? Yeah, that too. Lemieux's research shows that narratives of grievance, such as being told over and over, if you don't do something, you are going to lose your country, can create an atmosphere for political extremism to thrive. Quote, it doesn't lend itself to measured political dialogue, he says. It becomes about the other side being inherently evil and fundamentally bad for the country. How do you negotiate with that? How do you try to find common ground with someone you've cast as evil? Political science professor Jennifer McCoy says, as Americans' partisan identities, and let me just stop there because, again, I really do believe when I look at the individual chuds that I watch, I really believe it comes out of a deep sense of unacknowledged guilt. That as a human, somewhere in their deepest soul, there is a realization that they're on the wrong side of the issue. And they want so desperately to be accepted, which was why Trump was so attractive to them, because he was finally, a famous person who told them that they were right, that they should be mad. So I think that is what I observe, is that it isn't about, there's no conversing really with people in that, because they, first of all, have a deep sense of guilt about how they feel. And it's so deep. It's so deep. And it's so generationally embedded in them that there's no way for them to step back and say, gosh, could I be the drama? Am I the drama? All right. Sorry. I'll continue. Political science professor Jennifer McCoy says, as Americans' partisan identities have become a social identity, that's interesting too. It's led to what she calls pernicious polarization, which expands the divide into all kinds of social relations and creates a zero-sum view of politics. Excellent point. Quote, people have sorted into political parties so that their different identities and attitudes line up into a single partisan identity, she says. Today, Americans also don't interact much with people in other parties. When we're not communicating, if we feel anxious or threatened in any way, it's easier to become suspicious and distrustful of the other side. So think about this. Think about 2020, when most of the country was not actively working or whatever. At least they were exposed to far more content on the internet because shows weren't being filmed and all kinds of, stuff kind of stopped. And all attention for a larger part of the country was turned towards the internet. What an amazing opportunity. What an amazing opportunity for someone to go in and just fuck it up. Wow. And really, if you were online in 2020, you probably did. Your algorithm probably created that echo chamber for all of us and reinforced whatever beliefs we were kind of telling it to tell us. Yeah, through Cambridge Analytica, right, Max? You're right. People had already been herded into the radicalization silos by 2020. And then it was just a matter of keeping the trough primed, right? I witnessed chuds in their natural habitat the other day, as I do yearly when my friend from way up north comes to visit her sister nearby for Thanksgiving while chugging whiskey and beer. One chud, it's coming. Whiskey and beer, whiskey and beer. I'm chugging over here some whiskey and beer. Yeah, whiskey and beer, whiskey and beer. I'm chugging over here and it's whiskey and beer. Oh, casually mentioned unliving people 3 times in 15 minutes. Fabulous. No, there's and it's like the movies. You know what I mean? It's like violence in the movies kind of thing. It's the idle mind, I think. I blame Hollywood. That's what I blame Hollywood. I blame MSG. I blame Fruit Loops. That's what I blame. Red dye number 5. Anyway. All right. McCoy, who studies political and its effects on democracies in countries around the world, has seen it destroy other countries. It's also eroding democracy in the U.S., according to international groups like VDEM Institute and Economist Intelligence Unit. These groups measure democracy based on factors like electoral integrity, freedom of the press, civil liberties, and toxic levels of polarization. Mistrust of government or losing faith in elections can result in political apathy or disengagement. For example, citizens may be less likely to turn out to vote. But pernicious polarization can lead people to believe that elections are life or death events. The other party wins, life as you know it is over. These kinds of perceptions can increase challenges to democratic norms as people try to keep their own group in power at all costs. Well, that's like us. No. When we do it, is it right? They also can lead to violence, especially if rhetoric from politicians and or other leaders is aimed at stoking fear and resentment. It's one thing to have a set of different opinions and disagreements, McCoy says. It's another thing entirely when you start to see those who hold those other positions as lesser, as anti-American, or as people who want to destroy the country you love. Is there a cure for what ails us? In an essay published in January 2021 titled Overcoming Polarization, McCoy and her collaborator, Murat Somer, at Koç University, I don't know how to say that, I'm so sorry, in Istanbul, offer some lessons for societies trapped in 2 mutually distrustful camps. Trauma is definitely an entry point, and everybody has some kind of trauma, right? At least I think that's not an untrue statement in terms of what you perceive to be traumatizing. You know what I mean? I think that's a tricky one. One is addressing the legitimate grievances such as poverty and economic inequality that can fuel resentment and outrage politics. Another lesson in recognizing that removing a polarizing political figure from office does not end polarization. In order to fully overcome pernicious polarization, she says, you must practice active depolarization. To actively try to unify, to lower the temperature, to stop using divisive, demonizing us versus them language is key, she says. To say, I'm going to govern on behalf of everyone and to try and unify around universal values. Well, honey, it didn't work. We tried it. Yeah, everyone doesn't react by joining a hate cult. I love this kind of academic lens into how we got here. It's so important to hang on to experts. Authoritarians will want to get rid of experts. Yep. Absolutely. Although campaigns based around depolarization are difficult to implement, McCoy's research has found some candidates have been successful in other countries. In Turkey and Hungary, for example, candidates for mayors of the capital cities have used a unifying message of hope and love and bringing people together, she says. Rather than demonizing the opponent, they emphasize the positive, and they won. It's a strategy. I think that's easier in local politics, though, don't you believe? I really wonder. I think that's easier said or easier done in local politics where there's more relationship building. You know? Hey, Paul J, how you doing? Oh, babes. Well, be gentle with yourself. Come on. Just relax. You need to just lay back, relax, listen. It's a strategy that McCoy says President Biden is also attempting, although she believes Biden and other leaders will have a difficult time depolarizing the U.S. in its current state. With income inequality continuing to grow and racial inequities in health and education, and with our country struggling to address the pandemic, it keeps us stuck in the same cycle, she says. When politics become deeply divided in a way that speaks to our identity and our grievances, democracy is in a dangerous place. That is very good. I will link that along with everything. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. Ugh. Men cells. Yeah, I think, it's not that I want to completely dominate the conversation. I guess I do kind of. I just want to stress that disinformation is really something that if we don't acknowledge disinformation in this country, we're fucked. We're just fucked. Well, that's a really good question, Iggy. Sounds like the takeaway was we are too far gone for love and unity to win. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I think in this moment in time, I would agree that I don't see where that messaging got through. That it didn't break through the disinformation. That's what I think is the crux. It's not that it didn't resonate, because it did. 49% of the popular vote was all he got. Okay? So he didn't have a landslide. And I think a gentleman on our space the other day put it well when he said that despite the billions and the oligarchs that were behind Trump, or that are behind Trump, oh, I felt lifeless and boring. No, Paul J. You know what your liver said? Thanks, bud. Happy Thanksgiving. That's what your liver said. So, dude, you did it. You fucking did it. You fucking did it. Congratulations. Okay? I'm just so proud that you did it. That is hard. That is hard. You got this. You got this, Paul J. One day at a time, sweet Jesus. Night drink tomorrow. Okay. Might drink tomorrow. Hey, man, tomorrow's tomorrow. You don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. I used to think sleep is for wimps. Now I sleep is good. Oh, I sleep a lot. I sleep just to avoid life sometimes, which is, a mental illness. But I do. And I talk openly about my issues with mental health. So I have a therapist and I have a diagnosis and all those good things and all the drugs. So, yeah. So I get it. I mean, none of us really get it, but I get it. Let me make sure I didn't have anything else. I thought I did. Maybe not. No, maybe not. That's fine. I do want to say, first of all, thank you, Gal, for all the great links. Thank you, everyone who shares information. Yet again, I'm just going to say it all the time. I really am grateful. It makes whatever we do here incredibly better. So, yeah, saving your brain and your body. That's right, butterflies. It is brilliant. It is brilliant. You got a lot of respect. And you know what? It's just life is life. And you really do have to take it one day at a time. It really is a one day at a time thing. So, hang in there and do you, and just be gentle with yourself. But don't hurt yourself either. Don't hurt yourself. Yeah, I thought it was really good information today. I feel really overwhelmed with all of it. Only time when I'm not in pain is when I'm asleep. I feel that. Feel that. Well, I'm glad you're here. So thank you for coming here. Honored. Honored to have your presence. You got this. It's not easy. It's never easy. But the alternative sucks. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Oh, you're getting a grounding mat for pain. Yeah, let us know. Very interested. And then I have dreams where I'm some kind of messed up predicament. The dreams post sobriety or in sobriety are very strange. And it's probably just because I don't remember my dreams from when I was drinking, but they can be very wild. I hope you have some outreach like therapy and stuff. I found the therapy that I got to be very helpful. Very helpful. I wasn't a meetings person. I think we talked about that before. Although they have online meetings now, which I think is kind of interesting, and I haven't checked those out. I don't know if you have, Paul. But also, just make sure that you're reaching out, and if there's a way to get some like therapy to help you kind of just have that outlet, I hope you're able to do that. It's just a hard time. It's a hard time. You're in the hard part, but you're doing it. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing you do it. And you come in here, and when you have, deviated from your plan, you've said, guess what? I deviated. That takes a fucking lot of balls. So, yeah. Good job, Paul. Hang in there. Hang in there. Get some rest. Sleep today. Today's a great day to sleep. I guess I'm not supposed to recommend sleep, but sleep is good. Sleep in water. 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 Oh, thinking about you, Paul. Thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I really look forward to this time. I mean, I know I say it all the time, but I really do. Really appreciate it. I learned so much. I'll put all the links in the description. And tonight, oh my God, tonight we have a double feature on Discord. It's Fun Night Friday Night Movies at Lolo's Lounge, Discord. So there's movies. We have, first up is Galaxy Quest. I think it's at 6:00 Pacific. I'll check. I have to check I'll reissue the tweets and shit. Yeah, double feature. Whoop, whoop. And then after Galaxy Quest, we're going to switch it up and we're going to show They Drive by Night, which is a classic film noir with George Raft, Ida Lupino, who I love, and Humphrey Bogart. And it's just a great fucking movie. So double feature tonight on the Discord. I'll send all the invitations and the links again today. So no worries. You'll be able to find it. And I hope you come. I hope you come and join us. It's fun. And then we have the chat open at the side. Everyone chats during the movies. It's just super. I've been really enjoying it. And I really appreciate everyone leaning into using Discord and making it work. Because I just think it's such a great place for us to gather where we can watch things and not worry about being taken down and all that shit. Because we're just trying to have fun. Yeah, by Grabthaw's hammer. You're not going to marry that redhead. Let me check and see what I said. Hold on. I don't even know. What the hell did I say? What did I say? Hold on. Where am I? Lolo's Lounge. Lolo's Lounge. Where is it? Jesus Christ, woman. You're putting up so much shit. Okay. It is 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Yes, you can drop photos on Discord. Yes, you can. You should be able to. On the Discord. Here, I'll show you. Beep. All right, here's me. Double feature Friday. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, etc., etc. Galaxy Quest. And then immediately followed by They Drive by Night. There's the Discord link. There's Alan Rickman, who we love. There's George Raft. That's George Raft, and I can't remember who her name is, and that's Humphrey Bogart. I love George Raft so much. He's such a great actor. I won't Carrie, you can post whatever you want, darling. Nobody puts Carrie in a corner. Post what you want. Books in living room organized. Fuck yes. Oh, Lee, I love it. I can just picture the smell of the candles and like the garland being hung. Oh, I can just feel it. I love Ann Sheridan. Thank you so much, Max. That is the beautiful Ann Sheridan, who was a wonderful actress. So that's great. That is the line. Yeah. You're not going to marry that redhead. I love that movie. It's such a good movie. You can, yeah. So come tonight, have fun if you can. If you don't, that's fine too. Sheridan was known as the oomph girl. I think I remember hearing that. Oh, it's too bad. I don't know if Oomp's still here. But oh, that's funny. There we go. Hopefully he'll be there tonight. Maybe he will. And we'll remind him of that. But yeah, come and hang out with us tonight. Tomorrow night, trivia. I still owe you a cookie making thing. I just didn't get my shit together yesterday to get my kitchen ready for like a filming, you know. So I will do that, I promise, because I promised my daughter cookies. More than anything, I promised Bobo cookies, and I have not delivered. So I have work to do. I got to get off my ass today, maybe. I might just watch Chuds and smoke weed all day. You don't know. And play Baldur's Gate, which apparently is also sucking time out of my life. I love Baldur's Gate so much, I can't even fucking tell you how much I love that game. I need to stream that because it is actually an interesting game to watch. Pretty sure it's the only other place I've seen that word. I mean, I've seen that word. I guess I haven't seen it. Oh. Yeah. Hey, Paul, you got it. We're here. You got it, bud. You can't get rid of us. We're like a bad penny showing up. But we have the best interests at heart. So you definitely have people in your corner, Paul. If we're only internet people, we're still real. So you know what? We're in your corner. Let's hang in there. And remember, you're a human. It's okay to be human. The point, kind of. All right. Anyway, enough of my lectures. Hopefully see you tonight. If not, hopefully see you tomorrow night. And thank you again for coming today. And I hope the rest of your Friday is very relaxing in this post-holiday stupor that some Americans may find themselves in. Where I live ain't much IRL. That's tough. Although it's probably pretty. All right. I love you guys.